Hello, everyone. How's it going? I'm here to review The Acolyte Episode 5 Night. And I guess we should have guessed that this would be the title, given that the previous episode was titled Day. And this was a little bit of a surprising episode, but also not so surprising. So the previous episode ended on a cliffhanger, the Jedi going into battle against the Sith. And yes, it does seem confirmed that this adversary, this Darksider, is a Sith, or at least calls himself a Sith, or says the Jedi would call him a Sith. But yeah, that episode ended with them going into battle. And then this one began with Oja waking up, and I thought that they were gonna do this thing where they would skip over the battle and she would just see the aftermath and investigate. It kind of would have been bold if they had done that, but I know lots of people would have been mad. Some people thought that the fifth episode would be a detour of sorts away from the main plot, but it wasn't. It continued directly after what we saw at the end of episode 4. So yeah, and again, I'm assuming you saw this episode, hence spoilers and whatnot. This reveal of who this Sith is, his mask does come off. How's his name pronounced? I don't remember how his name is pronounced. Is it Khmer, or is it pronounced a different way? Manny Jacinto's character, the smuggler, and pretty much everyone guessed it. I'm kind of different in that I kind of don't guess identities of secret villains and such anymore. And what's weird is this show feels like it's kind of making a point saying, "Oh, of course you should have guessed that it was this guy. Like you really didn't know." It was kind of strange experiencing that after, no spoilers, but in the last couple episodes of Doctor Who, it got kind of meta, poking fun, or seemingly poking fun at the whole Doctor Who fandom speculation machine. Pretty much everyone predicted stuff that was going to happen in the finale of that. Uh, but yeah, it did get kind of intense. Again, like I don't know if it's my TV or if it's the lighting of the show in general. It feels really dark, and sometimes it was tough to make out what was going on. But the Jedi here, they fall, and surprisingly, Jackie gets killed, and you know Manny Jacinto's character, he refers to Jackie as an it. So it's like, are they suggesting that this Sith is xenophobic? Is that what's going on here? And Yord goes down as well. And there are some points said by this Sith character, this adversary that we're supposedly supposed to be rooting against, who says, Soul says Jackie was a child, and the Sith is like, um, and you sent her to die, or something to that effect, or sent her on this dangerous mission. And yeah, the Jedi do that. They bring their Padawans on missions that are potentially dangerous, even if they are really young, and it is kind of whack. Um, there's a moment where he's saying, "According to you, Jedi, I'm not allowed to exist," and I'm wondering, what is this TV show trying to say exactly? Because that type of dialogue sounds like something that would be said by marginalized group, and I don't want to make assumptions that this is supposed to be like a one-to-one metaphor or something, but it's a similar type of language there. But perhaps it could just be, think about the experience of someone being an outsider and transplanting that into, okay, what if a dark side user, someone full of darkness had those feelings, what would that be like? And I'm wondering, like, is the show trying to make a statement about what should actually be done with people who dabble in the dark side? Is the dark side supposed to be a bit more accepted, or is it that people who have darkness within them, instead of the Jedi just going ahead and killing them or fighting them, like they should allow them to go through therapy, talk it out and um, talk through the darkness within them until it dissipates. I'm really trying to figure out what the mission statement of this show is, because it really does feel like it's trying to say something. I'm just not 100% sure what it's trying to say. It feels a little muddy. And, in philosophies, there is this idea that there has to be both light and dark. And I do kind of wonder if this show is trying to dabble in that. But that's something I've always had a problem wrapping my head around, because, in darkness, there are some very dark deeds that people can do that are the most awful things ever. And so, how do you reconcile having both that and the light, the goodness, side by side coexisting? Like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. And I do think that this show is for sure touching on, the institution of the Jedi Order and where it went wrong and stuff like that. So it is touching upon, people need to think a bit more for themselves. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure all of this out. Really, um, it's a lot to take in, and I really do think how much I like this show will ultimately depend on A, what the message ends up being, and B, the execution of the message. Because, shows can have messages, but I don't know, like, I'm trying to figure out what this show is trying to do exactly. Now, it does have my attention, and I do like that this episode and so I guess a couple of the others are a half hour, a little more than a half hour, and that this is an 8 episode season. So I don't feel like I'm wasting my time watching this show. The ending for this one did not feel abrupt like the endings to the other episodes that came before, at least from my perspective. They do, May and Oja, they end up in this twin switcheroo situation. May makes it so that they switch places, and now she's posing as Oja. And I get the sense, and there seem to have been hints of this. Maybe not so subtle, that Soul has been hiding something. Like maybe he it kind of seems like maybe he wanted May to die in that flashback episode. People think back to The Last Jedi, where it seems like Luke was trying to kill uh, Ben Solo, but really he thought about it and then felt ashamed, and then Ben thought that he was trying to kill him, and it's a whole misunderstanding. So I wonder if there's something going on here where Soul did want May to die and wanted to make sure that that did in fact happen. A sort of different take on that sort of situation. There's definitely another side to the third episode, the flashback episode, that I feel we haven't gotten yet. And there's more to Soul. There's this thing of, the Sith wears a mask, but he says, Soul wears a mask as well. So this show has my curiosity. It makes me wonder, like, where exactly is it gonna go? But again, it's gonna boil down for me, I think, to the execution of what exactly this show is trying to say. Some of the dialogue did feel kind of obvious. And wasn't there a moment where, you know, Oja's master wants to kill, or not Oja, May's master, uh, he wants to kill her, and he, like, she has cuffs, right? And he uses his blade to cut through the cuffs, and before he tries to kill her, rather than just killing her right away. Like, that felt, like, I don't know, why didn't he just straight up do it? Or there's a moment where the lightsaber is thrown and Oja, the other twin, is running away, and it's one of those moments where it's like, why don't you just step to the side? Um, so I don't know. Maybe I have to watch the sequence again. But yeah, the switcheroo happens, and it did kind of remind me of one of the Alien movies, and there is an alien influence in the Sith mask. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens from here on out. Overall, I think the episode is fine. I guess I'm still trying to figure out, like, what all of this is really about. So I feel like I can't give it higher than a 7 out of 10. I do like it more than the first two episodes, which I bumped down to 6 and 3/4. Um, and I kind of wonder if maybe I should bump them down to 6.5, but I'll keep them to 6 and 3/4. Yeah, so I thought this was somewhat passable, but I'm a little confused, admittedly. And yeah, I am gonna there's only three more episodes left, so I'll see how it pans out. And yeah, it's pretty much it. And again, Star Wars fandom, all of you be nice to each other. And so I'll talk about the next episode after it comes out, and see you all later.